So I'm not sure what I'm going to speak because it was impromptu. But so basically, I started out when I was 12 or something, and so I learned about programming, coding, and some basic stuff just to tinker with projects and this. But slowly, I started working on projects which were more startup oriented and which have some real market importance or some real work, real impact, direct impact, which I can observe. And those small projects, then really I started working on proper startups. So I did one last year where we were focusing on enhancing the learning experience for anyone from a 5-year-old to a 70-year-old through podcasts as a medium, because podcasts really caught the rage and become a very important trend in India and the entire world, which was a great medium to learn. And then from that, we got certain insights through which I got interested into the entire workforce industry, where people from local gig work to professional services to anything that you can do for a living, but in a very different manner, where we're looking at people who've not got the opportunities, who were just coming up the entire new consumption wave in India. So we came up with this concept of building a platform for local gig work, where anywhere from, so earlier it was more consumer services oriented, where we thought that we can match people who are doing local gig work with people who want cleaning at their home, or people who want drivers at their home, or people who want cooks at their home. But then slowly we found out this very different market, which is the entire B2B talent space, where 55% of our economy, 55% of the GDP of our economy is service driven, excluding IT, because it's transportation, logistics, hospitality, construction, retail being the largest. So the staffing that happens in these industries is very different. So anybody who wants to staff locally, if you have a retailer next door, he wants people who stock, or he wants people who do the work for him, or he wants people who deliver. And there are people who are actively looking for work, who've come from rural areas, or people who are in the lower class who want to work. So matching those people with a unique concept of trust scoring was what we are working on right now. I think that's, yeah.
Mike, he doesn't want to miss a chance. So my name is Animesh, and I run a startup in the AI NLP space. We are a horizontal AI NLP platform that's called NLP Bots. And for large companies, we automate different kinds of conversations, processes. Like for Tata Communication, we help them, their sales team automate their entire data collection process. So our bots go read through a lot of documents and automatically prepare reports for them. Similarly, with Accenture, we help them in hiring, their hiring process, where our bots read resumes, match that with their job descriptions, rank them, reach out to them, engage them in a conversation, sort of a screening, and based on that scores, they are able to get them for the first interview. So the entire process from when you have a job description to the first interview is entirely automated. We work with companies like Mahindra & Mahindra, Piramal Group, Aditya Birla Group, etc., where we automate employee conversations. So if an employee has anything that he needs, like he wants to book a meeting room, he wants to apply for leave, he wants to claim reimbursements, he wants to change the nominee on his Provident Fund account, he wants to, say, complain that the AC is not working, which I don't think it is here as well. So if he wants any of those things, he can just chat and then, or else raise a ticket via chat across all platforms. Similarly, we help companies with their customer care. So basically, wherever you have a bunch of unstructured text, the only platform you can think of that's horizontal, that deals with all kinds of use cases, is NLP Bots. So we'll soon be launching the NLP Bots V3. You can check us out at nlpbots.com, and you can register there to get your access to the V3, which is going to be free, which is going to be open. So if any of you, your enterprises, your clients, anyone needs any kind of conversational UI or any kind of automated process, wherever you have to deal with unstructured text, you can get onto that. You can try it out yourself. It's free. And then we can engage. Right? Thank you. Anybody, any questions? Yeah.
I wanted to know, so bots, so they are, getting into different functions in the organization, like as you told, maybe for if you digital services, IT support services, or capturing the data from the website.
Yeah.
So how refine are those this technology as of now? If you have to like, is there any metric based upon which a user can evaluate a specific bot for a particular function?
Yeah.
So is there any metric for that?
So there are different metrics, like there are accuracy levels and there are a lot of other stuff out there. But some of the key features that you need to look out for is how it can work with different kinds of structured, unstructured data, or is it doing only a specific function? Whether it can be hosted on any cloud of your choice, or whether you're stuck to a particular cloud, or whether it can scale use cases. Like, is it just a chatbot, or can it be used to, say, read data as it is, So all that kind of, so these are few touch points or few things that you can do to evaluate a good tech, right?
I'm looking for search and voice bot.
Okay.
Does the bot have anything like which combines both? Primarily like what you said, searching the resumes,
Yeah.
identifying the right resource, and then communicating with them to qualify them for the position up to certain level.
Absolutely. So that's one of the basic. That's part of basically natural language search, where we can do that, and also not only that, but that it should be part of a workflow. Just a natural language search, you can use a lot of APIs are available there from Google, Microsoft, everyone. But if you want to really make it part of a workflow and you want to use that very effectively, and then you want to be able to switch cloud, that's where you need NLP bots, right?
Okay. So where should I look for all this?
NLPbots.com.
NLP.
NLP, natural language processing, bots.com. Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
My name is Vedant Mankad, founder, CEO of Just Freights. We are into B2B SaaS company. We provide softwares for freight forwarders, custom house agent, and transporter to manage their daily operations. We automate their workflows. We provide them marketing automations, operations automation. We provide them customer engagement platform. So that they can easily shift to the cloud from their conventional way of managing the business. Shipping is very complex, especially it includes a lot of documentations and a lot of back and forth going. So this is where Just Freights come into the picture. We automate the process over there. We learn how their workflows are, and a transport or a freight forwarder, any custom house agent can just automate the workflows and customer engagements and everything. It's all included into them. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our session for now is India Incorporated Going Global. Our moderator for the session is Mr. Anil Advani, Managing Partner, Inventus Law. Then we have Manisha Raisinghani, Co-founder, LogiNext. Aakrit, Vaish, Co-founder and CEO, Haptik. And Miten, Mehta, Chief Alliance Officer, CleverTap. I would like to ask Mr. Anil to take forward the session.
Thank you everyone for joining us and also patiently waiting, and I appreciate everyone who stepped forward and introduced themselves and kept us not just occupied but also providing all the great information. Hopefully it'll be good for you guys to connect with others here. So we're already running late, so I'm going to dispense with the introductions. If you're living in Mumbai in any form, doing any work in any form, you probably know the panelists already. So I'm going to dispense with the introductions. The short of it is they're all very great people, great entrepreneurs, and also very good friends, which is why I was able to pull them in at short notice. We are going to talk about going global, and hopefully you read the agenda and you're in the right room because you have a company in India incorporated or running operations and looking to become global. So we will learn from their experiences on how they did it, and Manisha's also promised to talk about what not to do. So we'll go into what mistakes you probably already have made and she'll verify, or what she can hopefully avoid for you guys to make. Please have a seat. There's and it should be interactive. So if there's anything fun or controversial you want to bring up, please raise your hand. 30 seconds or less. So we'll start, and obviously switch your phones off, all the good housekeeping stuff. You want to talk about your journey, each of you? And we'll start with Manisha. Again, if you looked at the news, they just announced a big fundraising, and what you've done, how you got there, what the new future plans are, anything, everything. Go for it.
Sure, thanks. Hello, everyone. So I am the CTO of LogiNext. LogiNext is an automation and optimization platform for logistics. We started around 5 years back, and it has been a great journey. Currently, we have most of our clients in the US and APAC region. We started with India, tested our grounds here, the product was tested here, and then we went global. Recently, we raised our Series B, and that was, because of all the success that we have got with our enterprise clients. We work with clients like McDonald's, UPS, Singapore Post, Decathlon. So different, verticals in logistics itself. We'll talk more about it as we go on. And yeah, excited about this panel. I think, Miten and Aakrit, they have been in the similar journey, started with India and now selling global. So would like to, share our experiences with you. And thanks, Anil, for helping us with this round.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, everybody. My name is Aakrit Vaish. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Haptik. We've had a slightly different journey compared to both these companies here. We originally started out as a direct-to-consumer company, and I think that's where a lot of you might be familiar with the brand. Haptik used to be a personal assistant app. We were trying to build the Google Assistant or Alexa of India. Late 2017, so about little over 2 years back, is when we pivoted to becoming we basically, the technology we had built for our app, we realized the value of it was greater if we sold it as a license to enterprises, because the use cases over there for enabling support and communication between end customers and enterprises was a really broad area. We just heard NLP bots, so that's the area that we also saw an opportunity in. So November 2017, in classic startup fashion, we pivoted. The difference was that we pivoted after already raised 2 rounds. Anil's been, part of that journey from the day we incorporated the company, actually. So we pivoted about a little over 2 years back. So I like to think of ourselves as year 3, really, in our journey, whereas the company itself is 6 years old, but the current business and what we do is 3 years old. So taking a leaf off my esteemed companies and colleagues, we are now starting to go global. So we've tested and battle tested our product in India. In India, we think we have the largest market share in our business, which is providing conversational AI solutions to large companies or large enterprises. And last year, we started our journey towards being global after having raised a strategic investment from Reliance Industries. And in the last 6 months, we've now opened up US, Middle East, and Southeast Asia as markets. So yeah, we're still in our learning phase. I think she can talk about all the mistakes they've made. I can tell you about real-time mistakes we are making right now, like literally 1 hour back, yesterday, day before, late night calls, on a plane all the time. So yeah.
Still doing that, Aakrit.
Yeah?
We are still doing that.
That's your excuse for being late today.
My excuse, I was here on time, honestly. The excuse was the badge took a long time, like I said. But yeah, partly.
And Miten, I'm going to ask you a slightly different question.
Sure.
That's my silly. So besides sharing your thoughts on your journey so far, shut up. Besides sharing that, you're also someone I know from the Bay Area. And personally, right, you've been in Bay Area, been in Mumbai. I don't know where you are at any time or who you are, right? Talk about your experience from a personal level and a professional, selling to a US customer and selling to an India customer. The key differences, how you think about that, and maybe answer why you would want to sell to a US customer or be a US facing company.
Sure. Hey, check. Okay. Hey, thanks, Anil, first for inviting Aakrit and Manisha. We were all sharing while we were waiting out there. One of the major reasons we are here is because of you. So thank you so much for inviting us. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Miten Mehta. I'm the Chief Alliance Officer of CleverTap. Just my plug for today for 2 minutes is that I'm not a founder, unlike the other 2 esteemed colleagues here. I've been founder with 3 companies earlier, but currently I'm a Chief Alliance Officer at CleverTap. We are a Series C Sequoia Tiger Global funded company, leader in basically providing data science platform for consumer brands to engage, convert, retain, and grow their customers. Just going back to Anil's question, I took this role about a few months back. and moved from Valley to Mumbai after almost 30 years in Valley and other parts of US. And I think one of the things that I realized very quickly was from going in, the company actually went global prior to me joining in. The last year when we raised the round, we were already global. We had already expanded, about a year back or so into APAC, and we had just started operations in US about a year and a half back or started selling in. I think largely I would say that the key takeaways are that if we have the basics right, the value proposition to the customers and enterprises right, between whether it is APAC, whether it is India, whether it is US, that has to be very chiseled and refined and highly focused, maybe more so in US. So that's one of the key takeaways I would say. Second, North American market, in my opinion, in our opinion, what I have found at least is, and having worked even in the past with the several companies, is that is very peculiar. You can't show a APAC or a India case study in North America, for example. And maybe this is more relevant to our case. I'm sure panelists may agree or may not, because every market is different. But at least in our market, like even if you go out and see, for instance, let's say you worked with Disney India, that does not translate into a case study for a US customer, though Disney is a global brand. You got to go out and have US customer, because North America in particularly the customer enterprise market especially is an B2B market is such that, look, if you are not have gone out and sold in North America, and if you don't have case studies, so that would be one thing that I would to kind of basically say that unless you don't have logos. So, as I say, and this is not literally, but, back borrow steal, do whatever it takes to get those first 25 logos in North America, right? Go out, do whatever it takes. Because if you have those, then, so that should be your year one target, in my opinion, And your India success, APAC success, only counts to the extent of having a product market validation and a product that is a technology which is baked and proven elsewhere. But you'll have to kind of go out and start from a North America case study.
That's great. So we've talked about sales. Let's switch gears to technology. As the CTO of this now global company growing into global, and to the extent you can share what's not confidential, what are your challenges or what are your plans to build a product now for a global market from what you have so far? How are you thinking about this? How should others in your position be thinking about this?
So one thing, the way we started was we started first building products for different models of the logistics. And then as and when we were talking to bigger and bigger enterprises, we converted our product approach to a platform approach. So it's very important that you find that inflection point in your journey, in your product development journey, where you know that this is the time you have to convert to a platform approach. Of course, on day one, you cannot build a platform because nobody really needs your platform. But when you're working with bigger enterprises, so as Miten mentioned, that's not the case for us. For example, if you're selling to Disney India versus Disney US, it doesn't matter for them. But for us, it really matters because the logistics, the decision makers are sitting in the US. So even for, say, a McDonald's, the decision makers would be sitting at a global, their headquarters. So for us, it matters a lot. And the biggest difference in selling in or building a product for India or building a product for North America is basically in North America it's more of value-based selling and not relationship-based selling. While in India with enterprises, selling depends a lot on relationships. So the sales is really high touch. Yes, absolutely. Who you know, the kind of relationship you carry with them, what customizations you can do for them now. We are a product company, right? We don't want to keep on doing customization for clients. So it's always better to build a platform approach, and we have given all our modules and features like an a la carte to the clients. They can pick and choose what they want according to the operations that they are running. So be it on-demand operations, be it last mile operations, first mile operations. Either you're moving goods from California to Bombay or you're moving goods from New York to San Francisco. You can pick and choose how you want to run your operations on the platform itself.
And if you can show value, then they're willing to pay top dollar for that value, right? Which is somewhat different, I understand, from some of the Indian customers.
Absolutely. I mean, ROI matters, right? And again, measuring ROI is different in case of, in case of companies like CleverTap and for Aakrit, it would be directly the revenue matters, right? For us, it's more on basis of TAT. How fast can the deliveries happen? What is the customer experience that we are providing to the end customers?
So intangibles.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the, but very early on, I started representing a company called Mindtickle, and one of the founders was on the panel again, 7-8 years ago, and he said something that stuck with me, which is, he said, Anil, when I'm selling to Indian customers, they don't talk about value, they don't talk about, and I don't want to generalize, I'm as Indian as everybody here, so I'm not being biased or racist by any means, but he said, when I'm selling to Indian customers, they basically say, yaar, ye batao, cost kya hai tumhari? Give me the cost, and then usse 20% le lo. What more, right? So he's saying basically my best customers are capped at that price, the way they think about this. Whereas in US, if I can show the value and they can show customer engagement, all of that is the intangibles, they'll provide full price for it, and therefore you can grow faster. So why would I not structure for the biggest, highest, fastest growth at a business I can? Aakrit, you're nodding your head, so.
Yeah, no, so actually, funnily for us, if you look at again, so like I said, we like to think of ourselves from a business perspective, 1 or 2 steps behind at least these 2 companies. And outside of these 2 in general, because both Anand and Dhruvil and Manisha, everybody has been such close friends, I've really been sort of studying how they went about doing it in the early days, right? And I think one difference, and I think something that we did wrong, but I don't think it was intentional, it was just where we found ourselves in a journey, is that we spent, or even now we're spending way too much time in India, right? And to answer, sort of touch upon what she mentioned and what you also mentioned, and if you end up doing that, then culturally it becomes very difficult to change, right? From a business development perspective, even the sales team, even all of us become very cost conscious. We stop thinking value. The product starts moving in that direction, where the product starts thinking, okay, listen, we have to optimize for cost, not for value. So one of the things that I've been trying to bring about for the last 4 or 5 months, a cultural shift in our organization, is to really change that and start thinking value first, start thinking, as far as product is concerned, sort of platform first. Because unfortunately, like the both of them mentioned, Indian customers have a very different way of buying. Unlike both of them, we have 77 Indian logos, right? Which, in one way could be great. We have 1/3 of the local market, but now I'm, really debating and evaluating whether, to build out a global company, could we have cut that short? Could we have gone sooner? Because in a way,
the resources are the same. You're allocating the same or more resources.
Exact same resources, exact same product. 1/4 the value, but more importantly, forget the value of the order, right? It's about the buying pattern and the buying style is so different. And what they push you to then build for product is so different. And that becomes a challenge, right? That, it's always said, right, that in classic great enterprise SaaS companies, you build customer first. And one of the challenges that I have right now, and what I try to keep pushing the team towards, is maybe that customer that you're building for is not even the right customer. Because we have such a large Indian base, and then to pivot and shift towards thinking about global markets is very different. Completely agree with you, right? We have, as we're starting to scale to North America, we have 77 customers and 30 case studies across all verticals, all scale. We have a Reliance brand to take. Still, that doesn't work, right? The question really comes back is, who's here, right? What's in the US? I think that's completely agreed that, that's one of the first mistakes, larger strategic mistakes, and I'm realizing we should have probably gone sooner. And you don't need 77 logos to harden your product here, right? You will get 20, 25, even 20. You're good, validated.
Yeah. That reminds me of something another client told me. Again, these are gems that I remember. He said, Anil, my best customer in India is Microsoft India. And they love the product. I'm not going to name the company because he's told me not to name because I did that and I got knocked. But he said, my best customer in India is Microsoft. After 5 years of building for them, the managing director of Microsoft India came to me. And this is a few years ago, so not the current the managing director. He said, XY, Anand, let's say, fictitious. We love the product. This is employee engagement. All our employees, the feedback is great. This is helping us. We love it. However, my budget is 2 crores a year. For this project, I cannot do. He said, Anil, I've done everything I can. The best. This is the best case scenario for a startup, that you have the global brand and they love your product and they're saying that the employees actually want to use more of it. but they're capped at 2 crores. How can you then sell beyond that, right? You're capped at the value. So something for early on you have to think about, when you're selling the brands, that's great to have these brands, but where is the growth, or what's the future next 5 years look like, and how do you raise money based on these numbers?
Absolutely. One point to add over there, now that we've learned a fair deal about this business in the last 1.5 years, and, to early stage companies, right, who, let's say, we try and help out, give back, invest in whichever shape or form, the one consistent feedback I give is pick your first 5 customers. Right, because the first 5 customers will end up influencing the product in a great shape and form. And if those are wrong customers who are influencing in the wrong way, then you'll end up building something that the rest of the world does not want. Right. In fact, this is something that 2 years back, Anand, co-founder of CleverTap, him and I almost talk every week. He told me, right, and that's a very famous CleverTap story. But their first 4 customers were Book My Show, Jio, and a couple of others. And they really helped them build a product because of the nature of the companies that could sort of scale globally.
Manisha, seems like you made the same mistake, so you want to talk about that?
So I think, it's all like having 70 logos is good, and it's very attractive. It's very attractive for other clients to attract talent and everything, right? But in enterprises, one focus that I think every company should have is on expansion revenue. We always underestimate expansion revenue and always keep on running behind new clients. So because the potential in your current logos is tremendous. If the product is working, if they see value, if they are convinced, the value, basically the potential in the current logo is usually tremendous. So just focus on, more on expansion revenue than only on getting new clients or new logos.
Right.
So initially we were not, selling up, basically cross-selling, upselling. We were not spending a lot, in first 2 years, we were not spending a lot of time on upselling and cross-selling. But then we realized, that clients were automatically, expanding the licenses. So we were like, there's huge potential. Why not, actually pay attention on that? So we started account-based marketing, a lot of marketing activities wherein it was helping other stakeholders in the company as well, or other departments of the same company understand the value that LogiNext is bringing.
Great. And so Aakrit, and like Manisha, I get confused between Aakrit and Haptik. It's one and the same. That's fine. And, which is good.
And our head of business and sales, his name is Karthik.
Oh,
so imagine when we go to sell in the US, what happens? Hi, I'm Aakrit. Hi, I'm Karthik. We're from Haptik. People are like...
I get confused. Yeah. Haptik or something. Yeah. So you've been a US company when we met. Then you became a sort of an India company with Reliance coming in. And now you're a global company. You need to now build a big sales, in the US for global markets. How are you going about it? Challenges? And it is true that, as an Indian entrepreneur trying to sell to enterprise in US, getting the right people, the right sales teams to open the door, all of that, talk about where you are, challenges, and how you overcome and learnings from that.
Yeah, no, this is, you're basically, we might as well, this might be the Haptik founders catch up right now, because this is real time what we're going through. We've just the last 6-8 months outside of the Reliance transaction has been a tremendous learning in this business. And between, again, like I said, I keep repeating, the 2 companies next to me and others, I think I would have spent time with at least about 30 odd founders, in terms of how they did it, what are we doing, where are we doing. And I'll tell you the few things. Let's put it this way, the few things that have not worked, because we don't know what's worked. We're a little early, right? But the few things that have not worked. I think they always say, right, that sometimes too much money is not good. And unfortunately, I think that's what's happened a little bit with us, and which we're trying to correct, which is that, with the Reliance investment coming in and broadly the sort of mentality that our investors have, it's typically invest and conquer. Right. So basically what you do is that, look, we want to go global. Let's set up a 15% sales team. Let's invest $3 million. And, just through that, we'll have the best salespeople who'll open doors, and, we'll be sitting on $20 million next year. In enterprise B2B SaaS, one learning has been that doesn't happen. No matter how much capital you may have, instead of doing invest and conquer, you have to build each market ground up. And in North America particularly, as again, so many companies have learned, the founders have to spend time. There's no other way. You get the best salesperson in San Francisco, $500,000, let's say you pay him $500,000 all in, plus uncapped commission, and he can open up a Rolodex. But as you're entering a market, founders have to spend time, and the CEO has to be there getting those first 10 or 15, 20 logos directly. Sunil's based, Sunil, founder and CEO of CleverTap, is based in San Francisco. Dhruvil might as well be based in the US from what we know almost. And similarly, right, all our other peers. So I think that's one big learning. So what we did is, back in July, we acquired a company locally in the US. We acquired a team of 3 who were basically doing business there. We brought on an additional salesperson, so we built a team of 5 without much revenue there. And lesson learned from that is, it's given us some advantage, but even if we had built it ground up, it would have probably given us the same. And maybe to scale, that would have been better. So one big learning from just our journey, real time, is that capital cannot short circuit market building, especially in North America. It requires the founding team or founders to spend a lot of time building it ground up.
And finding the right guy or girl as the anchor that you can build on more than the number of people.
I think after a few logos. Okay. I think the first 3-4 logos almost need to happen through just you spending a lot of time. And then, finding the right anchor. Mo engaged, another one, right? Mm-hmm. Another one of your clients, Ravi, know him really well. He did something similar, right? He pretty much moved there, went to Alchemist Accelerator, spent a ton of time, and then after the first 2-3 logos, brought his GM on board.
Agreed. And understanding, how people buy, how companies, customers buy their products for that market. Yeah.
Right from buying patterns to buying patterns to usage of technology. Like when you see a rider or driver using an app in Southeast Asia is much different than North America. So you would imagine that in North America, drivers would be more tech savvy. It's absolutely the other way around. In Southeast Asia, because of Grab and Uber Eats and Gojek, drivers are really, really smart. And these are the insights which, probably very small insights. Decision buying patterns are much larger insights that a CEO can get. But I would say Dhruvil has done a really great job at it. I mean, right from the first market in Dubai or Southeast Asia and then North America. So Aakrit and we always discuss, launching new markets is something, Dhruvil has mastered now.
And I was talking to Dhruvil, and all of these people here, so smart, so deep into, understanding, and Dhruvil can negotiate a legal document, by now, better than most lawyers I know of, other than myself.
We need a CFO, by the way.
There you go. But he's probably going to, if he had the bandwidth, he would perform, and Aakrit and Miten also. I've known Miten for a long time. I've never seen him this quiet for this long. So back to, and I say that with all obviously love. So Miten, talk about your experience in building the sales channel in the US, challenges, how you're overcoming future opportunities.
I think I'll go back to one of the points that got discussed of cost versus value. I think that depends on whom you're selling to. For instance, in CleverTap's case, we sell to line of business, we sell to the CMO. Fortunately for us, our buyer is also our user. So their emphasis on value is far greater than on the cost. Now, that's not to take away whether that value that they put on our services is as good as or is as much as in US, perhaps not. But we don't get into the typical Indian negotiation because typically, as you know, globally, and this is not just India, budgets are shifting from CTO, CIO, who are really looked at from a cost standpoint, and as with SaaS, democratization of IT services, etc., self-service, all shifting to the line of business. So I think one key takeaway I would argue is when you're looking at building your business from a SaaS standpoint, look at who your buyer is and see if your user is, and also see if they are the buyers. Then you're going to run into this cost versus value negotiation more in your favor than the traditional buyers have always been CTO, CIO. That's one. The other lesson that I would think is to invest in ecosystem early. For every dollar that you bring to the table, if you're able to identify 5 partners who can bring dollar to you, right? And the best way to identify those partners are to see where your value flows, right? Let's take CleverTap example. For instance, we generate about roughly 13 billion data every day, right? I joined them from Google. We used to do 3.2 billion search. So think of it. We generate 3 times data than Google, CleverTap. So we found out like who's really benefiting from that data, right? When customers go out and use it, the upstream value, downstream value, we identified who the players are. I can go into more details, but the point I'm trying to make is if you follow the dollar and follow the value from a customer standpoint, identify who are the benefactors of those from a vendor standpoint, make them your partner in the game, and then go to a customer, especially in North America. It's all about partnership, ecosystem, community. As they say, ecosystem is the new moat, right? There's only so much more you can build with product and differentiation, as most of you would argue, especially when you're 4-5 years into the baking of your product, right? And so it's very important that you kind of consider partnership day one when you're looking at going international and investing in it day one. Partnership doesn't come free, by the way. There is a significant investment that goes in, but I would argue that the ROI of investment in partnership delivers at least 3 times more than what you would deliver in your direct sales marketing channel, right? So those are the 2 key takeaways I would argue.
Great. I think we're running out of time, but I'm going to close with my final thoughts and then, cross the board. And if we have time, maybe a couple of questions. So I think the key part, and this is where, my practice, so I'm biased, is to think about, a company where, especially if you are, the kind of companies that are becoming global or selling to global audience, is to structure yourself for success, which really, in my opinion, means incorporating a company in Delaware and setting up the legal structure in Delaware with nothing else changes on the ground in India, right? Your operations, your team, much of it, other than one of the founders moving back and forth or relocating for sales, building the team, working with, engaging with customers. But do that early on. And the faster, the earlier you do we'll still do it, right? And we'll charge you a lot more for it. But it's painful, right? And you can avoid that by doing it early and doing it in the manner that's been done before successfully. And there are 2 parts that come in the way of, in my experience, Indian founders, not doing it early enough. One is misinformation. I guess 3 parts. Misinformation, it could be your angel sitting next to you saying, don't worry about it, let's get the 70 logos, let's raise $2 million. But you have to think about what happens after the $2 million, right? How do you become a global company? What are the legal, tax, regulatory implications of then trying to do this? So get your information from people like these who have done it successfully, how they've done it, and follow that, right? Second is pure laziness. It's founders who are, and I don't have enough time to talk about stories of founders who are, growing up in India is a very different sort of culture and how you work, and the ability to, or the requirement to do your own laundry and figure out your food, all of that is challenging. So that sometimes, that becomes a challenge. And part of the misinformation is not knowing how easy it is. A lot of times founders want to do it, but they just think it's complicated. Trump is not going to let them come in, all sorts of misinformation. So again, it's not complicated. People have done it before, and look out for those people on the stage here as your mentors or advisors who can help you sort of walk through that process. So that would be my closing thought, but would really appreciate, what you're thinking in terms of your experiences and what you like to share with others.
Sure, no, I completely agree with Anil. I think Anil has been a great help. So if not Anil, in general, I would definitely suggest it's very important, to have your legal structure sorted before fundraise at least. So yeah, that's on the legal structure side. But from product point of view, because I am the CTO, so I'll definitely talk about technology. It's all about value. When you sell globally, it's all about value. So make sure that the product shows value, and automatically the new logos, expansion, revenue, everything is going to flow in.
Given somebody who's been very much in the learning phase of this business for the last 1 year, the only thing I can say is that it is really, truly the time for Indian SaaS. It is just an incredible time about, the SaaS booming happened this weekend. I know some of you made it. Unfortunately, I couldn't. But one thing that is just so encouraging that we are seeing in any market is that the whole apprehension of buying product from Indian companies is gone, right? Whether it's North America, whether it's Southeast Asia, any market, right now buyers don't discount you or your capability because you're an Indian product company. In fact, in some cases, it's in an advantage. Like Southeast Asia, for sure, we're seeing a massive advantage because they believe some high-quality product is coming out. The potential of what can be built and software as a service in general is enormous. I mean, somebody like me, you can take that as an example, right? Started out being a company or a person or a founder who wanted to build a consumer product. And we pivoted without knowing what this will entail, but are probably more excited about this business and the potential this can have, not because of the product, but just software and what it could do to enterprises, more than ever. So anybody who's thinking about it, building the product, couldn't be a better time. And be prepared to be on a plane and do it sooner than later.
Just to add to it, so Godard, the founder of G2 Crowd, was at SaaS Boomi. And so G2 Crowd is basically kind of Capterra, wherein you put your feedback and reviews for SaaS products. So he mentioned in last 1 year, the reviews for Indian SaaS products has seen the highest growth in terms of percentage. It was 80% for Indian products, SaaS products, and some 30-40% for US products. Yeah. So that was a validation that, Indian SaaS products are actually...
Absolutely, and Miten, you'll go last, but obviously the most important at the end. But I want to add to that, I have clients in VCs, hedge funds now, private equity, that are asking us, right, what is next, the SaaS companies, because as Aakrit said, and Manisha validated, the time is now, right, for Indian SaaS. And the ability for both strong founders that have built products and have the ability to build, but also the ability to scale at the volume and the price in India is unbeatable, right? That combination is just dynamic. And if you don't do it now, if you don't do it in the way that's been done and it's all set up, then you have no excuse for not doing this or failing. So then closing thoughts.
So I think thinking early, going global is no-brainer. Definitely, if you're in SaaS, there cannot be a better opportunity. I feel like if I was another 10, 15 years younger, and if this was the market, then I would have definitely looked at going out. So I definitely feel. But I would argue that, not just going global, but also when you're looking to going global, look at North America early, right? Because I would think the first few logos in North America is worth at least 10 or 15 logos in any other market, including Europe, APAC, India as well. So is the battle hard? You bet. It is a litmus test of all market, but I think once you're proven in North America, it becomes easier. Now, I might be biased, just like Anil, US citizen, having stayed there 30 years, but I think all of my experiences, and not just CleverTap and others, and I would like to make a case and say North America is the market where if you prove yourself, other market becomes easier, but the vice versa may not be true, and that may be just based on my experience. So that's one. Second, I think, think of, obviously, if you're looking in North America, Delaware is a no-brainer decision, as Anil mentioned. Second, I would argue that also, when you're looking at North America market, think partnership early, right? Instead of going out and saying founders, and I've been founder before, but most founders, as they would say that, they all want to kind of roll up the sleeves and they want to do it because that's how they did it, right? So sometimes what happens is you have to kind of control your natural instinct and actually look at the market and say, who are the people who have actually built relationship? And I would argue, at least in our services, relationship in US matters too, right? Whom you know from a bias standpoint. So I think, think partnership early. Think of investing in partnership early. That would be second. And third, keep a goal. I think if you can go out and say, if I can get 10 logos in first year, depending on, again, what your ticket size is and what your target markets are, I think that's a reasonable goal to go out. And if you get those 10 logos, then that will kind of go out and set you up for success for subsequent years in North America. But think North America, think partnership, think 10 logos.
Are we allowed to promote it?
Sorry?
Are we allowed to promote it?
Sure, go for it.
First of all, Anil, and we are hiring.
And I'm also up for with that, I think we're running out of time, but I do want to, if there's 3 questions, so lady there.
Hi, I'm Nikki. Thanks, guys. And it's very clear that, for SaaS companies, the market to be in is in the US. My question to you guys is that being here and then thinking about US markets, what would you say are the right channels? Like, how do you decide who are the decision makers? How do you approach the right people in those companies? And, especially for early stage companies. Once you have few logos, then I would think the journey becomes simpler. But for early stage companies, how do you crack that?
My time to endorse Anil. But I know Anil for 20 years, and I think finding the right advisor, corporate law firms, whoever, and Anil happens to be here, and we know, I think I worked with him in 4 out of 5 past startups I have done. So I can assure you, I think they are going to be your early advisors, right? So, and they'll basically go out and help you understand whom to connect, where to connect, when you're especially landing in Valley for the first time. I've seen many delegations when I was at Google who used to visit from India, and Anil used to bring some of them as well, working with NASCOM, I believe. I don't know if that program still exists. And you know, within a week, it was almost like a finishing school. I remember Anil going out, bringing them, you know, to us and few others. They would have a lot more clarity about who their product, who their buyer, who their influencers, what the channels, right? So it's very hard setting here, and maybe other panelists can comment, but I would argue that finding the right advisor is the first step, right? And then you'll go forward from there.
I think the other question, Aakrit and Manisha should answer this also, is whether you start from the current sort of, you know, the low-hanging fruit, right? The customers around you, because it's easier, cheaper to get, sell, test out the product, get it to a point where it's ready for prime time, right? So what are your thoughts?
No, so maybe to answer your question, I think very specifically one way to do it is events, right? So events don't, you know, have a restriction of who can attend, right? So you can just show up. You know, initially probably start out not sponsoring something, just go buy a pass. You know, it's $1,000 typically at most events. Make sure, one of the mistakes we made is go to events where you will find potential customers. So very deep, focused, specific events. You know, we used to go to events like, you know, chatbot world. No customer shows up there. It's all vendors, right? And then we are only speaking and we are only high-fiving each other, right? So that's really not the best event. But let's say retail, national retail conference, if that's your customer, right? Go there, just show up there. One thing that we did is, the first time you go, when you go without sponsoring and you just go up to show up, talk to all your competitors who are actually having booths there, right? So if you talk to all the guys who are selling already and have booths, and you just, you know, talk to them and find out, you know, as a product and or what they're doing. Obviously, we used a different card this time that I'm from Reliance, so tell me I want to buy your product. So then they reveal everything. So, you know, but an idea just to sort of, then you'll start getting understanding of, okay, listen, what's going on, who's doing what are the collaterals they are building, what does the sales brochures look like. So I think that's one way, very specific way to sort of just hit the ground running outside of the advisors and personal network. And to answer your question about low-hanging fruit, absolutely. Our first US customer was a dentist, you know, which is not an enterprise for sure, right? So, but the value was there. We got to understand, you know, smaller things, and I'm sure Manisha can talk a lot more about it. Working late nights for the team here, right? Coordinating with the buyer, getting the team used to working late nights, then coming back and saying, I can't do it. So then having somebody else do that. Just smaller things which you don't want to go into a McDonald's with, right? Because then you don't have an option to fail. Yeah.
And to sort of, and Rubil was very lucky as Manisha also, so who can handle tech while he's running around, being the face of, you know, this Manisha working hard to build that. To have that dynamic also
of course.
in the team is very important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, having high influx of capital. Recently in the SaaS boom as well, there's a recent new accelerator program in Bangalore, the name of Upekha. Yeah. So don't be a vanity SaaS and be a value SaaS. So this is always a problem for hardcore SaaS or companies, that what should be the ARR to funding ratios when you are thinking about to raise fund? Or say if you're growing at certain percentage, 30, 40% year on year, do you actually require funding, or what is the best ratio for AR to funding ratio?
I don't think there is a formula as such. I think there's a lot of factors that go into it, which is, so I think the key metrics are obviously your ARR, growth rate, and then your capital efficiency. I think these three are, and capital efficiency essentially is gross margin, right? And that, to Anil's earlier point, the reason Indian SaaS is doing so well is because 70% gross margin is given, right? Typically, it's a lot more in some cases. You know, I don't think there's a formula as such. That's my view. There are broad benchmarks that, okay, listen, if your growth rate is an X and you're at an X ARR, then you do a multiplication, you get to Y valuation. Anil, maybe you can share that, your Excel spreadsheet with everybody to arrive at those numbers. But
Manisha can answer, like, all the money you raise, how do you plan to spend that? Where do you think are the key areas that you know that you need the money to grow?
Sure. So, by the way, we were EBITDA profitable last quarter, and we raised 39 million yesterday. So it's not about either you have to be capital efficient or you have to focus on growth. Right? You can do it together. It's just that you have to follow the rule of 40. which is basically, you can read more about it. It's basically you should not be compromising on your growth in lieu of being capital efficient. If you see a market, if the market is ready for your product, if there are buyers, if your average ticket size is $500,000 in the US, then you need additional money for expansion. You need to hire a bigger sales team, a bigger account management team, or customer success team in the US. And for that, you need additional capital. It depends if you want to achieve, if you want to go to a 20 million ARR in, say, next 3 years, or you want to go to 20 million ARR in a year. And accordingly, you can...
There's one more rule, right? The T2, D3, which is...
3-3-2-2-2.
Yeah, which is, there's another rule which is along those lines, which is triple, triple, double, 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 right?
3x, 3x, 2x, 2x, 2x.
On your ARR, not revenue.
On
It's
your
a recurring
ARR.
revenue.
We're running out of time, so we're out of question. I would say the short answer from my perspective is, don't be a kuein ka dattu, right? I don't know if everyone else said, but, you know, I mean, so there are people who tell you don't raise more and all that. It's great because what you're doing. But to Manisha's point, if you're building a global company, hiring people, building a sales team does cost a lot of money, right? So if you don't have that engine, you can't do it. So you're going to be, again, working against yourself to not doing that. Don't raise more than you need and what you know, and don't spend more is what Aakrit's point. Not
Invest in long-term.
Invest in the long-term sort of investment. With that, I want to thank the panelists for taking their time and sharing the talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anil.
Token of appreciation, Mr. Anil Advani, Aakrit, Vaish, Manisha, Raisinghani, and